Today's conversation is for multi-passionate people who feel like you're interested in so many things and you're actually good at a lot of things too. Now, I know that for many people, when you're good and you're curious about so many things, there's a part of you that just feels like you can't focus. You know, it's like, what am I supposed to be focused on? What is my niche supposed to be? What is my expertise? What is my mastery? And we start to kind of feel like we're scattered in all of our different interests, our different passions, our different, magnitudes of ourselves. And it actually puts your nervous system into a stuck, frozen mode. Basically, what your body does is that I don't know what to act upon, so I'm not going to act upon anything, or I don't know what to act upon, so I'm going to act on all the things all at once, and then feel like I'm not really seeing momentum. I'm not really seeing the things that I want to see come to fruition in my life because I'm doing a lot of things, but not doing anything intentionally. Now, if you're somebody who's in this vibe, you're probably somebody who's just like a really good overachiever, like you've spent time studying and doing things and mastering your hobbies and activities, and like every now and then you have this like shiny object syndrome where you're like, oh my gosh, this other thing is over here and it's like cool and cute, and maybe I should do this, maybe I should change careers, or maybe I should, right? There's this part of you that gets like super excited about pursuing something else than what you've been doing, and that is part of your journey to navigate. Now, in this conversation, I wanted to break down how being multi-passionate is actually not a flaw. And if society told you that you're supposed to like hunker down and focus on one thing, it's actually shutting down a lot of your intuitive channels. It's shutting down your creativity, it's shutting down your intuition, it shuts down some of your psychicness, it shuts down the way that you are connecting to source, to nature, and all the different parts of you that wants to be embodied in your experience as a human. So for many of us, when we shut down these channels, meaning that, say all of a sudden we've been in our thing, whatever your thing is, for 10 years, 15 years, and all of a sudden you have this like curiosity about, something that is outside of your thing. So say you're a data scientist and all of a sudden you're like, I'm kind of interested to make music, or I'm interested to make art or dance or study this other thing that has nothing to do with computer science or data or being an analyst. I want to explore this part of me. There's a part of you that's going to tell you that it's wrong. It's societal programming, and it's also because you're not really flexing your muscle to try different things. Your body almost says like, are you sure? That's not what we're good at. That's not what we know. That's not what we're meant to do. So your body almost goes into this like clenching, telling you narratives kind of mode where you feel a little bit of resistance in pursuing the thing that feels like outside of your regular self. So part of your journey right now, especially if you're somebody who's navigating the fact that your multi-passions are actually not all these like disconnected things that you may think they are, there's actually a common thread between all of these different things. So for example, if you are that data scientist, perhaps what your common thread is finding patterns and pattern recognition. And what you like to do when you make music or you make art, you're actually repeating that understanding of pattern recognition in the things that you're doing and creating in your music, your art, and your creative endeavors. Maybe you are a, therapist, a healer, somebody who is in the healing arts, you're in social work. You might think that, okay, my specialty is this thing, but perhaps what you do is actually help people build confidence and care about themselves and go on their self-love journey or whatever it is. There's something that you do that is the common thread. And most of us don't spend enough time in our external passions and our external hobbies to identify that common thread. And all of us have it, you know what I mean? Like it seems that some people like seamlessly kind of integrate their common thread where it's like, oh my gosh, you do all these random things, but it makes sense because it feels like that's you, like that's your essence. And some some folks, they're more so struggling to find that common thread because it feels like, oh, art and music and, writing and this other thing and like also fashion, all of these things feel different, but they're not at the end. And for myself, I'm multi-passionate, and part of the reason why I have so much success in the things that I do is because I'm multi-passionate. I'm a scientist by training, I'm a mystic by lineage, I'm a best-selling author, I host a globally ranked podcast called The Playground, I'm an artist, I'm a DJ, I'm a producer, I'm a musician, I'm a dancer. All of a sudden I do pole dancing and floor dancing, and it's like, oh my gosh, the side quests are endless, but it makes sense when I do that. When somebody's interacting with me, they're like, oh, it makes sense that you do that because all of these things are linked in curiosity for me. I have a podcast called The Playground. My energy is really about playfulness and joy and pleasure and the mystic magic of being able to live and create a life that you love. And when I'm doing all of these things, I'm embodied in my message of those things. So why would I just, box myself into just saying like, oh, I am this? It actually takes away my curiosity. Why would I box myself and say, I can't do that? It actually takes away my ability to play and enjoy and to explore and do all the things that I'm about. And same thing for you. If you're multi-passionate, just know that you just haven't found the common thread. It's not just that you don't have a common thread. Everybody has a common thread, but it's really about narrating your inner truth, your inner needs, your inner wants in a way that feels cohesive to you, not to other people, but to you. And as soon as you embody that cohesiveness for yourself, you start to notice that everything else falls into place. Now, many of my mentees in the Healing Arts Academy, which is a school that I founded to train sound healers, breathwork facilitators, and mentor aspiring healers for the last 15 years, many of my mentees in these spaces, they're multi-passionate too. They're people who are just like super talented, super interested and curious and helpful. They want to be of service. They're in the healing arts in some way. They're healers, they're doulas, they're nurses, they're doctors. We have a lot of therapists who are in my stratosphere in that way. Artists, creatives, musicians, DJs. And part of their struggle is really trying to figure out, am I doing all this random stuff where I don't actually really know where to put my focus, or am I being intentional about these quote unquote random things in a way that it can actually make sense to my essence? Now, what I mean by that is sometimes you get distracted, and sometimes it is a distraction that, like you are working on a project and all of a sudden you're like, ooh, shiny objects, let me work on these 10 other projects that have nothing to do with what it is that I'm doing or wanting to create in my life. And then all of a sudden, you're kind of just like you're kind of wasting your energy. You have these energy leaks. But sometimes these side quests are actually part of your main quest. These side quests actually inform your main quest. Now, I'll speak for myself, which is that I just mentioned that I'm a DJ, I'm a producer. I've been learning to make music for the last year or so, year plus. And, there's a part of me that wants to tap into a specific type of sound and a specific type of feeling. So this could be a side quest and be like, oh, well, you're a healer. You're somebody who is, teaching healers. You're a mentor. You're this, and whatever somebody else's perception of me is. But for me, this side quest is part of my main quest, because when I'm getting the skills to create the music, I'm being able to facilitate breathwork in a different curated way. I'm having a different expression as an artist, a different expression as a facilitator, different expression. I'm already a sound healer. I'm a 4th generation sound healer. I'm a 13th generation mystic. So for me to go into, like a different expression of something that is already my core thread is not this like complete side quest. It actually makes sense in my main quest. Now, you have that too for yourself. You also have that for yourself, where you have these things that feel super unrelated, and maybe you're at the part where all of these different identities have started to integrate, and maybe you're not. You're kind of just like, yeah, Shaniela, you're like hitting the points for me right now, because I think like, all these random things that I'm interested in are not connected. But try to start to find how these things are connected, because maybe the social work that you do, or the activism that you do, or the art that you make are really rooted in causes that you care about. So it doesn't really matter how you're getting to those causes, you're doing them in a way that feels aligned to you in this season. So if this season it's about got some hair flying around. So if this season it's about doing it through music, then let that be the vessel. If this season is about writing and educating, then let that be the vessel. If this season is about resting, then let that be the vessel, right? There's so many different pathways to your mission, to your path, to your purpose. There's so many different pathways, and sometimes that's the overwhelm. But just know that these little curiosities are actually informing your main channel. And when you close out your curiosities, you close out your passions, and you only like hyperfixate on one thing or another, some seasons it's good to just hyperfixate, but all of these things are actually informing your main channel. So when you are connecting with different communities that are not quote unquote where you hang out, you're actually learning more, you're expanding more, your brain is expanding in a different way, your neurons are firing and connecting in a completely different way, your heart is expanding in a different way, you have different empathy and compassion for different types of people and different people's experiences in a different way, because now you're connected to a group of people that you weren't before. And your experience in learning something that isn't necessarily your career or your job opens up neural pathways in your mind. It opens up these channels of like, whoa, I could do it this way. I didn't know I could do it this way because I was doing it in this way. And there's all of these other things that start to kind of line up. You start to get informed by all of these beautiful places that you can get information from. And that actually just makes you a better person. Okay? So long story short, I want to leave you with this, which is that you being a multi-passionate person actually isn't a flaw. This is one of your greatest skill sets. Many people actually don't know how to be multi-passionate. Their brains only focus on one thing, and they're closed off as a person in other ways. They don't know how to think outside the box. They don't know how to be creative. They don't know about abstract thought. They don't know how to, think in a different system than the ones that they've been taught, and that works for them for their survival. But there's an itch in your physical body that says my multi-passionate hood needs to be expressed, it needs to be embodied, and I actually need to give myself permission to explore just a little bit more, so that my energy, my essence can expand, so that whoever it is that I'm becoming and turning into, day by day you're a new person. Like as you're growing into this version of you, there's a part of you that feels safer because you're able to explore all the parts that are you. You're able to, go into different parts of your depth that you haven't been able to before. Okay, so friends, if you are not subscribed to the Playground podcast, go ahead and subscribe. We talk all things spiritual exploration, self-development, self-mastery, magic, mysticism, and basically living your life like it's the fucking playground, friends. And just remember, the world is your playground. And until next time, I will catch you soon.